the time, your gateway to the world. A-F-R! American Freedom Radio. Give it to them.
Get real and heal. Listen to Christie on Soul Journeys Radio.
All right. Good evening, everyone, and happy Wednesday. It is April 17, 2013. Hope you are having a lovely day. I welcome you, and thank you for joining us here tonight. Soul Journeys Radio on AmericanFreedomRadio.com, and I'm looking on the chat. Everyone's having storms, and we're under a tornado watch again, but hey, it's Branson. That's just kind of the way it is here in the Ozarks. Like the wind blows, and panic, everyone, run. We still haven't even had a drop of rain, so I guess we will see. I do love our spring storms, though. Very chaotic, yet cleansing and super necessary. So tonight, another big show in store for you. We are going to have two guests. Unfortunately, the first one is doing a seminar right now, so she'll be joining us, maybe in about 15 minutes or at least by the second segment. And this is Michele Rosenthal of HealMyPTSD.com, and very inspirational. She's a trauma coach, inspiring others to overcome depression, anxiety, and fear so that they can move on and build lives full of freedom, meaning, purpose, and joy. She is also a keynote speaker and works as a post-trauma coach, award-winning blogger, poet, and author. Her first book. Okay, here we go. Her first website is Heal My PTSD. I was trying to tell you her first book, which is Conquering the Past. It's called Before the World Intruded, Conquering the Past and Creating the Future. And her second book she's working on right now is Your Life After Trauma, Powerful Practices for Defining the Warrior's Pathfinder Program. Oh, goodness. I got that wrong, didn't I? Oh, these are really long titles, so forgive me. I must be suffering trauma right now. Here it is, Your Life After Trauma, Powerful Practices for Defining a Post-Trauma Identity. So there we go. All right, the first one, again, Before the World Intruded, Conquering the Past and Creating the Future. And if you've missed her on our program, at least, she has been on the show in the past, so you can go check out the archives at souljourneysradio.com. You can click on forum, and then just click the search function to make it much easier. And in the second hour tonight, we are going to be joined by one of my favorite Canadians, maybe second only to Noelle, of course, because if I said she was my favorite, then I have hell to pay for that. So not that I don't have hell to pay for pronouncing his name wrong all the time, Noel, but Noelle, man, works good for me. So you know us dumb Americans. Anyways, in the first segment, I just wanted to share with you some of the definitions of PTSD and some of the symptoms, because PTSD is one of those, allegedly, the evidence of it has dated back as far as the 6th century in ancient Egypt, where hieroglyphs contain symbols of emotional responses to traumatic events. But it really hasn't been recognized until about the last 20 years here in the U.S. anyways. And that's not to say that everything the medical establishment says is true. However, I am going to read some of their definitions, like in the DSM-4 and medicine.net and such, just to kind of provide a guideline, because whether, you want to listen to the DSM or not, trauma is very real and has definitely been overlooked. And I'd also like to recommend a few books for you if you're suffering as well. But as far as the DSM definition, It says, the essential feature of post-traumatic stress disorder is the development of characteristic symptoms following exposure to an extreme traumatic stressor involving direct personal experience of an event that involves actual or threatened death or serious injury or other threat to one's physical integrity, or witnessing an event that involves death, injury, or a threat to the physical integrity of another person. Or, this is a really long definition, and a really long run-on sentence. So, maybe the writer was traumatized, but the long sentence continues. Or, learning about unexpected or violent death, serious harm or threat of death or injury experienced by a family member or other close associate. The person's response to the event must involve intense fear, helplessness, or horror. Or in children, the response must involve disorganized or agitated behavior. And I know that sounded like a bunch of mumbo-jumbo, so I'm going to read the definition, or how medicine.net characterizes it. It's a little bit more user-friendly. So they say, post-traumatic stress disorder, PTSD, is an emotional illness that develops as a result of terribly frightening, life-threatening, or otherwise highly unsafe experience. PTSD sufferers re-experience the traumatic events or events in some way, tend to avoid places, people, or other things that remind them of the event, avoidance, and are exquisitely sensitive to normal life experiences, hyperarousal. And I'd like to, kind of talk about one of my favorite books for trauma. It was really interesting how I came across this. I may have mentioned, 100 or 200 times in the past, that I love to, when I'm out of town, I like to check out the local libraries, thrift shops, and garage sales, because you can get really good deals, 25 cents or something, and the libraries will sell books that haven't been rented out or loaned out for years, for $1 or less. And I was on a road trip. This was, I think, almost 3 years ago. And this was at a thrift shop. I don't know, something made me go there. And I bought this book initially because I wanted it to help me with my practice to help other people. I did not buy it because I thought I had trauma that needed to be healed. I just thought it was everyone else, and perhaps that has to do with lack of education about it, or, I'm tough, I should be stronger than this, and, this doesn't bother me. And, it was just so amazing. I got through the book, let's say, it's about a 200, almost 300-page book. And I got through about 150 or something pages, and the floodgates opened up. It dawned on me that, oh my gosh, Christie, you're suffering from trauma, and you've done a damn good job suppressing it for the last 35 years. Or did I? Maybe not, because looking back, it's like, wow. That was just one traumatized little girl reaching out, had no idea what was going on or how to beat it, or never even knew there was a it to begin with. So I would like to recommend the book, Waking the Tiger, Healing Trauma, which is by Peter A. Levine. That's Levine. And it's just an excellent book. It kind of incorporates nature's lessons in healing trauma, as well as personal experiences, several stories on how we actually, it's a blueprint for repetition, they call it, where whether even traumatic instances that we have completely suppressed and don't remember, we tend to kind of make an anniversary out of them and find a way to harm or re-traumatize ourselves in similar fashions, which really blew my mind. Not only that, we tend to hear about fight or flight. tendencies, but we never hear about freezing and what happens when we're in situations, for example, surgeries, even surgeries that you totally, completely agree with. When you are put under medication, and your senses are all dead and, your body, your cells, your brain knows you're being cut open, and its natural response is to fight or to flee. Of course, when you are anesthetized and, under heavy drugs, you can't do that. So the other F that we don't hear about is the freeze response. And the freeze response gets harbored in our cells. And so, like I said, even if it's something we agree with or even if it's something we don't remember, it does get harbored in our cells and has a way to come out. I'd like to share with you some of the symptoms of trauma, as I mentioned in the definition. Of course, hyperarousal is a big one, always looking over your shoulder or, thinking somebody's always out to get you. And, honestly, just because you're paranoid doesn't mean they're not coming to get you, but I'm just kidding. But there is a fine line between being vigilant or being aware to being hyper-aroused. People like, for example, maybe you have a pet that, you adopted and maybe was traumatized in some way. For example, my dog Snickers, I believe she must have been traumatized because when she hears loud noise like a vacuum or she sees a broom, she just runs immediately. She's not going to hang around to find out what it is or what it's going to do. So those are common symptoms that, we can experience that as well. Constriction and disassociation are other common symptoms where we completely disassociate ourselves, remove ourselves from society. Hey, been there, done that. I'm moving out to the country. I'm going to go live in my cave and, screw you all. So that's another one. Feelings of helplessness, depression, etc. Sometimes you can have intrusive imagery or flashbacks. Extreme sensitivity to light and sound, perhaps even hyperactivity, nightmares, night terrors, abrupt mood swings like rage, temper tantrums, shame, fear, etc., difficulty sleeping, reduced ability to deal with stress. Some people, it evolves all the way to panic attacks, anxiety, phobias, etc., frequent crying. And what really sucks about it is that all of these emotions are totally normal, but today's society kind of makes us feel like, oh, we have to go to the doctor and let's just deaden this stuff even more with some brain-disabling drugs, which certainly isn't helping it. What you really need is somebody that you can trust, that you can talk to and get it out. If you don't have that available, talk to your dog, talk to the birds, talk to the tree, talk to your pillows, scream at your pillows, cuss, cry, but the important thing is to feel it and get it out one way or another. So again, this book has just been really, really helpful for me, and I'm really glad I felt the urge to buy it so that fully help other people who knew I was going to be helping myself, of course. So funny how those things work. Now, when it comes to emotions, I'd like to touch on this a little bit. Again, I'm not saying anger or any of these things are bad or negative emotions. Obviously, it's how you deal with it. It's the suppression thereof that makes us dangerous. However, in Chinese medicine and other Eastern medicines, they believe that our organs, or we believe, I should say, because myself included, we believe that our organs and cells hold memories of our emotions. So if we're suppressing these emotions, we might experience physical illness as well in certain parts of our body. For example, lots of anger and rage often shows up in the liver. If you, your lungs are responsible, usually if you're feeling like constricted, or if you're feeling really sad, if you're, maybe being coddled, or controlled too much. But lungs are mostly sadness. If your spleen is pretty much anger, being unhappy, your heart pretty much has to do, that has a lot of anger as well. Also suppressed emotions, whether it's not wanting to give love freely or whether it's refusing to accept love. All sorts of things carried in the heart, as well as, getting back to liver, lungs, and spleen, anxiety can cause problems in that system, suppressed anger, grief, sadness, like, oh, you're not supposed to cry about that. Come on, buck it up. Be a man. I'm sure, we've all heard those things before. And, it's just really unfair. And we've talked about this on the show, but I would like to take the opportunity to apologize on behalf of womankind and the role that we play in making men feel like that they're not supposed to cry. And, I think when we're adults, probably most of the women are like, oh, well, I didn't have anything to do with that. Come on, think back. Think back at your mom and your dad. Think back at your teachers. And I'm positive there's a time where you picked on a little kid maybe, for crying, a little boy and such. So I believe we all collectively have something to do with that. So I apologize for that, for anything I have done to make men feel like they are not allowed to express emotions. But we definitely have to come to a point in time where we are able to, heal this, the collective, the divine feminine and masculine. And I don't want to get too far off of a tangent here. So why don't I'm not sure when Michelle is going to be here, but certainly pretty soon. Uh-oh, I hear the music. So I guess we're going to take a short break, and we will be right back. Stay tuned, everyone. SoulJourneysRadio.com.
It's time to get real and heal. MyTrueEssence.net would like to tell you about Modifiland brown seaweed extract. It's composed of an elementally rich seaweed called laminaria. It takes 40 pounds of laminaria to make just 1 pound of Modifiland. There's nothing else like Modifiland. It is the richest in alginate, fucoidin, organic iodine, and lamarian. Alginates are the most effective organic element in nature that enable the body to rid itself of heavy metals, radioactive elements, and toxins. Fucoidin is an extremely effective anti-cancer substance found abundantly in brown seaweed. Organic iodine is the greatest protection for the thyroid offered by nature. Laminarin aids in the prevention and treatment of cardiovascular disease. Go to www.mytrueessence.net and click the Modifiland banner to get started on your path to rich health today. Also check out the Healing Shop for proven essential oils, medicinal teas, and even health coaching. It's time to get real and heal. Go to www.mytrueessence.net.
Get real and heal. Listen to Christie on Soul Journeys Radio.
No rules. No rules. No taboo topics. No taboo topics. No fear of doom. No fear of doom. We are American Freedom Radio. American Freedom Radio.
All right, welcome back, and thanks for joining us here tonight. Soul Journeys Radio on AmericanFreedomRadio.com. We will be joined by our lovely guest, Michele Rosenthal of HealMyPTSD.com. Very shortly, she's been doing these free teleseminars for the last couple weeks, and they kind of went over, but they're really long. I would definitely suggest checking it out. So you can go to her website for information about that, healmyptsd.com. And when she does get here, we're going to talk about loving your mind and loving your body after trauma. Her radio show, she's a radio host as well. And it's called Changing Directions, which, again, you can find at her website. She is, I believe, on Wednesdays. So we'll talk about that when she gets here. And, you know, I don't really want to sound too clinical with the information I've been sharing with you, but I do want to bring your attention to the correlation, again, between emotions and health. You can actually read about it at the National Institute Library of Medicine, PubMed.gov. They've actually, believe it or not, done extensive research and studies on emotions and health, as well as a study they did in the 1990s with 17,000 patients of a health plan. I don't know which health plan, but they were trying to assess the link between emotional experience and adult health. And the Center for Disease Control was in on this study, and what they had found was those who had experienced trauma younger, they were 4 to 50 times more likely to have adverse health conditions or disease as an adult. So anyways, I don't want to bore you with all the gory details, but there definitely is science and studies behind this. And, oh, it looks like we have Michele here. Let's see. Michele, is that you?
It is, Christie. I am so sorry to be late.
Don't even worry. You are a busy woman. I'm so glad you could join us.
Well, thank you so much for having me. I've been looking forward to talking to you all day because we had such a great conversation the last time, and I just love your energy and your spirit and the way that you think.
Oh, well, thank you so much. Thank you. I appreciate that. And I definitely feel the same about you, and tons of energy, and I just love what you're doing. I tried to explain a little bit of it, but you are the expert, so I know that you are really big in helping military survivors and as well as civilians as well, and healing trauma, anxiety, fears, depression, etc. So tell us a little about all you have going on, including your teleseminars.
Oh, absolutely. Actually, the telesummit that I'm not running it. I was participating as one of, I think there were 12 experts, and there have been a series of interviews. It's called adaytolive.com, and it's still going on, I think, for the rest of this week. So you can hop on to adaytolive.com and access a slew of great complimentary gifts. And on top of that, some really interesting interviews in terms of how we move forward in life despite the challenges that may have been holding us back. It's one of my favorite topics, and Christie, you know, I was not successful at that for a long time.
Yeah, you and me both, but
I know, right?
You're an expert now.
Well, both of us, we really have taken our challenges and turned them into something helpful and good, and I think sharing stories, as we all have the opportunity to do, and building community is such a great and profound way of not only exploring our own path, but giving back along the way.
Yeah, absolutely. And you're definitely doing that. So you also have your radio show. You're coaching survivors of, you know, from traumatic situations. Now, your radio show is Wednesdays, right?
It is. It's Wednesdays at 2 o'clock, and it's called Changing Direction. The show is really all about how do we change direction. I work as a post-trauma coach, and so many times I've worked both in group settings and with private clients with people who say, I'm just at the edge of this cliff in terms of the feeling or the process, and I say to them, well, what are you going to do to change that direction? Because you have two choices. You can either go over the cliff or you can change the direction you're going. And it's become a sort of catchphrase in terms of how do we change direction? And so the show is really exploring that, everything from, you know, trauma recovery modalities to next week I'm having on, do you ever watch The Biggest Loser?
You know what? I watched it for the first time on Netflix just like a couple weeks ago. It was really inspirational.
It really can be. Next week we have Dr. Ray DiBartolomeo on the show. He'll be sharing with us some ideas about his passion, which is chiropractic stress reduction. And I'm also going to be talking to a neuroscientist about how we can actually use the brain to start better regulating our emotions, which is, something so great for all of us to learn. So changing direction can actually go in any direction, and that is what the show does. We're sort of all over the place with ideas to improve your life and your process.
I don't know anything about that. We never do that here.
I know. You won't get that.
We're just very stiff and rigid and always follow a program, and I never lose my mind and change directions and all over the place.
And that's why you're coming on my show, because you have such the perfect spirit for that.
Aw, thank you. I can't wait. That's going to be Wednesday, May 1st, right?
Yes. I think at 2 o'clock.
2 o'clock.
The show starts at 2 o'clock, and your segment, I think you're the second segment, so you will be at 2:30 talking about how you learn to change direction and what you think is possible for us. But that's like the general guideline. You and I, you know us, we'll just make it up as we go along wherever it feels right to go.
As long as you're cool with beginners, because I tell you, this is a long process. It's not... it's just like anything else. There's no magic pill. You don't just go, oh, poof, I'm perfect now. I know all the answers now. So, that's going to be super fun to be with you on your show, and I'm definitely honored. I just love what you're doing. And you're writing a new book.
I am. My first book came out last year. It was called Before the World Intruded, and it was... a book all about conquering the past and creating the future, based on the idea of moving through trauma and then, of course, post-traumatic stress disorder and how we recover. And it's framed through my own story. And this year, my book that's coming out this summer is called Change You Choose: How to Point Your Life in a New Direction. And it's 13 core strategies for making and creating change that you choose. Because, I'm sure, Christie, in your life, you've known you've wanted to make a change, but then it's like you have to motivate, and you have to figure it out, and you have to, where do you begin? It's such a big concept. It can be so overwhelming. It's broken it down into 13 core strategies with exercises so you can actually read the book, work through your own individualized and customized process.
Excellent.
So that,
yeah.
Well, that will be out in, I'm not sure, the date shifts depending on production schedules, but right now we're looking at July, and it'll be available on the ChangeYouChoose.com website, and, of course, Amazon and Barnes & Noble and the usual suspects.
Okay, say that website again,
ChangeYouChoose.com.
ChangeYouChoose.com. Excellent. Well, I can't wait for that. And let me ask you this. I know you help people with post-trauma, etc., depression, anxiety, fear. Now, do you do any, say, emergency type counseling? Let's say, I don't know, maybe somebody's listening to the show tonight, and, maybe a couple weeks down the road, they decide, I've had enough of this, I can't do it on my own, and I just want to end it now. Could they call you?
They could definitely, email is the best way to reach me because I'm not always in the office. Okay. So I speak, so I travel a lot. But definitely email. I always have my email with me, and if I can't reach back to you in that particular moment, I've got a great network of colleagues. So there are always places and ways to manage and find the support that you need.
Excellent. Okay, because I know, emergency type situations, the only outlet or so-called help sometimes is people call 911 and then the survivor, ends up getting hogtied and treated like an animal, and I just don't see how that's helpful. So it's nice to see people like you that can actually help people when they go through these crises.
That's true. And, there are also toll-free 24-hour-a-day, 7 days a week hotlines like 1-800-SUICIDE or 1-800-273-TALK so that you can even if it's the middle of the night and you don't know who to turn to, there are places to turn that allow you not to be hog-tied or Baker-acted, but just to get the human connection that you need in that moment to bring yourself to a place of more solid ground.
Excellent. Okay, thank you for sharing that. And I really, you were doing a telesummit on love your mind and love your body. And when I saw that, I'm like, oh my gosh, you have to come on the show with us, because you know what? I'm not the only one that's experienced trauma, and as a result of that, definitely hated my body, hated my mind. I mean, basically everything about me. So I wanted to talk about that, but I also wanted to ask you, before we get into that, I talked about some of the symptoms that, they have listed at various websites, including yours, and shared some of the information from Waking the Tiger, Healing Trauma. But are there any other, I'm sure that, like me, for example, I had no idea that I was traumatized. I tried to have a stiff upper lip and, be stoic, and you're not allowed to have emotions. And I'm just wondering, maybe people might be listening that could be thinking the same thing. Well, this show isn't for me. Nothing's ever traumatized me. So can you share with us maybe some of the common overlooked indicators that, we might realize that, we might be suffering a little trauma as well?
I think that's a great question and a really fantastic point, because I, like you, came out of my trauma thinking I have to be courageous. I have to be able to be strong. I need to move forward. My trauma was horrific and impacted, my family watched my trauma, so that had an impact on them as well. So coming out of my trauma, I felt like it was very important in order for me to reclaim my life and in order for my family to reclaim a semblance of normalcy. I felt it was really important for everyone to think I was okay. So I didn't tell anyone when I became a horrible insomniac. I just could not bear the nighttime hours and that whole, I'm supposed to go to sleep right now, but I'm so anxious I'm on the ceiling. So I think if you've got a lot of sleep disturbances, if you find it impossible or hard to relax, and if you find you're very emotional, whether, maybe you're swinging from I can't stop crying to I am, raging out of control, if you find that you are isolating yourself more and more, like you're doing fine, quote unquote, but you're managing to do fine because you don't go out with your friends anymore, or you don't be around your family very much, or you go to work and come right home and that's it, stay in your apartment the rest of the weekend. These are all things that we do when we're struggling after a trauma, and they're not, quote-unquote, clinical symptoms.
Yeah.
Isolation is not part of the PTSD diagnosis, and yet if you are struggling with PTSD, you are most definitely going to be isolating, because when we struggle after trauma, whether it's big T or little t, whether it's a clinical diagnosis or not, when we struggle after trauma, we're trying to do things. We're trying to feel safe and in control. And if you find that your behaviors in those areas are causing you to be dysfunctional or impaired in your social, professional, and personal world, then it might be time to start thinking about, well, I thought I was doing fine after that car wreck, but I've noticed that since then I do this and this and this, and maybe that's not keeping a stiff upper lip. Maybe it's avoiding that there's really an issue that I need to face and process and work through. Overcoming trauma, as you and I both know, Christie, is enormously possible. You just have to, really what your question illuminates is we have to be aware.
Michele, I am so sorry. We are getting cut off right here, so hold that right there. Excellent answer and advice. Stay tuned. SoulJourneysRadio.com.
It's time to get real and heal. MyTrueEssence.net would like to tell you about Modifiland brown seaweed extract. It's composed of an elementally rich seaweed called laminaria. It takes 40 pounds of laminaria to make just 1 pound of Modifiland. There's nothing else like Modifiland. It is the richest in alginate, fucoidin, organic iodine, and lamarian. Alginates are the most effective organic element in nature that enable the body to rid itself of heavy metals, radioactive elements, and toxins. Fucoidin is an extremely effective anti-cancer substance found abundantly in brown seaweed. Organic iodine is the greatest protection for the thyroid offered by nature. Laminarin aids in the prevention and treatment of cardiovascular disease. Go to www.mytrueessence.net and click the Modifiland banner to get started on your path to rich health today. Also check out the Healing Shop for proven essential oils, medicinal teas, and even health coaching. It's time to get real and heal. Go to www.mytrueessence.net.
Get real and heal. Listen to Christie on Soul Journeys Radio.
Yo, what's up? Check this out.
The voice of the revolution. American Freedom Radio. American Freedom Radio.
Welcome back, and thanks for joining us here tonight. Soul Journeys Radio on AmericanFreedomRadio.com. Our special guest tonight, trauma expert, author, keynote speaker, and trauma specialist, Michele Rosenthal. Her website is healmyptsd.com. That's healmyptsd.com. All sorts of information there to educate you what it is, how survivors define it, some symptoms, even some tests, causes, etc. So definitely check it out. And her radio show, which is on Wednesdays, 2 p.m. Eastern Time. Uh-oh.
Yep.
Oh, there you are. Okay. All right.
I'm here.
Yeah, I'm so bummed we don't have a whole lot of time together, unfortunately, tonight, but we left off. You were sharing with us some of the symptoms that we may be experiencing or how we can be more aware of what's going on. So I guess in this segment, getting back to Love Your Body, Love Your Mind, telesummit, I believe you did last week, right? April 8th through the 12th?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
It was loveyourbodyloveyourmind.com. Again, you know, Christy, I love participating in telesummits. I don't run any of them. I get invited, I should say, to be an expert in all of these different telesummits, and they're all so amazing in how they are geared toward how do you make change you choose, which is my favorite topic. So the loveyourmindloveyourbody.com was you're right, was the telesummit April 8th through the 12th, and there were a slew of great experts, all of us participating and contributing our area of expertise in terms of how do you create the change you choose in the area of loving your mind and body. And I loved what you were saying earlier, Christy, about hating. You know, we come through a trauma, and when we finally realize we've been traumatized, we usually hold ourselves accountable for how our mind and or our body has been behaving since the trauma. And I know that was definitely true for me. Did you experience that you just weren't really in love with yourself?
Yes. And I still, I don't want to say I'm better. I mean, I'm definitely better than yesterday, and every day it's the same. I don't want to say I'm all better. But, yeah, I certainly love myself so much more. I don't know if it's the aging thing. 40 was, wonderful to me. I could finally settle into myself, stop judging myself, and I'm positive that had something to do with addressing the issues that caused me to hate myself. So, yeah, I mean, I realized that you weren't the organizer of the conference, but one of the prolific speakers. I think there were 15 experts from all over the world, and you were one of them, talking about body image and, hormones and relationships, self-confidence and such, for people who struggle with negativity, discouragement, worry, frustration. And I just thought that would be a wonderful topic to address here. And I know you shared your story with us in our previous show. So if unfortunately we don't have time to go through that right now in our last, say, 7 or 8 minutes left. But I definitely would encourage you all to listen to the last archive. It was extremely powerful. And again, you can hear her live every Wednesday. Her radio show is called Changing Directions. So again, go to her website, healmyptsd.com. But Michele, if you would share with us how did you go from hating your body, hating your life, your mind, etc., to where you are now? So beautiful and vibrant and healthy and confident and just, really kicking butt and leading the way, helping people like me and the rest of us, heal from our issues.
Well, Christie, first let me say that it took over 25 years for me to do it. So while it looks fabulous now, and I totally agree with you, turning 40 was the best thing that ever happened to me. And maybe one day we'll do a show on your show or my show about why that is. Because I think there's something powerful about entering into an older decade. But for the purposes of answering the question that you just asked me, I went through this horrific trauma at the age of 13 where I had an allergic reaction to a medication that essentially turned me into a full-body burn victim. And by the time I had come out of the hospital, I really was just so lost and hating that I was stuck in this body that terrified me. It was a source of enormous pain. It was a source of great mystery. None of the doctors had ever seen what had happened to me. And it was and remains to this day a source of unpredictability. I live every day knowing that could possibly happen to me again and doing as much as I can to make sure it doesn't. Just like many other people do that have weird, like, peanut allergies. Or, I had a friend in high school who was allergic to chicken, and sadly he's no longer with us because you can be as oriented to keeping yourself safe as possible, but mistakes happen. So I really, really hated my body and its betrayal of me. And what I like to say, my body did something behind my back. and so then I really didn't want to be in it, and I hated everything about it. And so I put it through a lot. I developed a fantastic eating disorder, because if you hate your body, you don't take care of it very well. And then I hated my mind because I was feeling such anxiety, because even though I strove to keep a stiff upper lip, you pay the price when you try to avoid what needs to be faced.
Yes,
and
we do.
I got, you do, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you learn that the hard way unless you're willing to hear that idea and embrace it, which, it's not like people didn't tell me you need to talk about what happened to you, you need to process it. And I said, oh, no, you're being ridiculous. I'm totally fine. And then you start evidencing the symptoms that we talked about earlier. You can't sleep. You have weird idiosyncrasies. Time was a big issue during my trauma. And especially because I became such an insomniac, time at night became, this enormously anxiety-producing issue for me, so that I couldn't be in my room at night unless I had unplugged all the clocks. And that's just a little over the top,
Not necessarily. I mean, you went through a lot, and especially in regards to your body, because it was your body that was covered head to toe, with the reaction, whatever was going on. So, yeah, totally understandable. I don't think it's that outlandish.
Okay. Well, when you've been doing it for years in the privacy of your own room as a kid and as a young adult, and then you have somebody sleep over, like a man that you're really into, and you're running around the room unplugging all the clocks, and all of a sudden you look up and you realize he's looking at you like you've got 3 heads. And that was the first moment that I realized there's something wrong with my needing to unplug the clocks.
Yeah.
And I started to hate that I had a brain that needed to do that. And I didn't understand why. And the process of coming back to a place where I could love my mind and love my body really started with the desire and the hope that I could release the things that were driving me to hate my mind and body so much. And that meant I really had to face and process and acknowledge, as you said in the beginning of our conversation, acknowledge that I was traumatized and that meant something. And it was okay that I didn't have a stiff upper lip. It was okay that I was feeling something, a response. And it was okay that I wasn't strong in every moment, because we're human. And when we go through experiences that overwhelm our capacity to cope, and certainly that's what big T trauma is, but even little T trauma can test our capacity to cope. Yeah. And there are repercussions to that.
Definitely. Now, Michele, I'm just looking at the clock, and we're going to get cut off here soon. So I need to have you back for the whole 2 hours when your schedule opens up. So please just let me know. But if you could, just share with us some of the coping skills or some of the ways that you were able to heal yourself over the course of that 25 years.
Oh, definitely. Well, it took 24 years for me to start actually doing the healing work, because I resisted it for that long. I wouldn't recommend that as a process. When I finally started doing the work, it was acknowledging and recognizing that, yes, I had been traumatized, and that was valid. So you have to acknowledge and validate who you are, what you've experienced, and what you're feeling today. And then I had to really acknowledge the enormous fear that I lived with. Fear is what drives our post-trauma experiences, and especially when they're dysfunctional or, impaired or negative. Yeah. So I had to really face the fear and work through that process. For me, that involved 10 different modalities, from talk therapy and cognitive behavior therapy to coaching to EMDR and emotional freedom technique. And my favorite, too, that really helped me complete my process were hypnosis and neurolinguistic programming. And I hear the music.
Yep, you know what?
Christie, thank you so much.
Oh, thank you, honey. I really appreciate you and your energy and vibrance and sharing your story with us and everything you're doing. Keep doing those radio shows, telesummits, and writing, because you really are changing hearts and you're helping a lot of people. So thank you again. Her website is healmyptsd.com.
It's time to get real and heal. MyTrueEssence.net would like to tell you about Modifiland brown seaweed extract. It's composed of an elementally rich seaweed called laminaria. It takes 40 pounds of laminaria to make just 1 pound of Modifiland. There's nothing else like Modifiland. It is the richest in alginate, fucoidin, organic iodine, and lamarian. Alginates are the most effective organic element in nature that enable the body to rid itself of heavy metals, radioactive elements, and toxins. Fucoidin is an extremely effective anti-cancer substance found abundantly in brown seaweed. Organic iodine is the greatest protection for the thyroid offered by nature. Laminarin aids in the prevention and treatment of cardiovascular disease. Go to www.mytrueessence.net and click the Modifiland banner to get started on your path to rich health today. Also check out the Healing Shop for proven essential oils, medicinal teas, and even health coaching. It's time to get real and heal. Go to www.mytrueessence.net.
Get real and heal. Listen to Christie on Soul Journeys Radio.
No rules. No rules. No taboo topics. No taboo topics. No fear of doom. No fear of doom. We are American Freedom Radio. American Freedom Radio.
All right. Welcome back. Top of the second hour here tonight. Soul Journeys Radio on AmericanFreedomRadio.com. Thank you all for joining us here tonight. And if you would like to join us for the text chat, that's over at SoulJourneysRadio.com. Just click on Listen and Chat, and boom, there you are with our magical, happy little soul family. And if you have any questions or comments, please feel free to give us a call at 218-339-8525. That's 339-8525. Our special guest here in the second hour, that's right, I know you've been waiting for, Sonia from TrutherGirls. Her website is TrutherGirls.wordpress.com, or you can check out her 7 billion freaking awesome videos on YouTube at youtube.com/TrutherGirls. She's oh my gosh, such an amazing, talented, fine young lady from Canada, and she's been, just has a wonderful, unique way at presenting truth and some of the things going on today, as well as her comedy skits. Just a wonderful comedian and has multiple characters. I hope that, maybe Flo and Anita can join us here as well. But not only that, she's very into health, organic foods, herbs, etc. Has a lot to teach us about that. So welcome to the show, my beautiful Canadian friend.
Hi, Christie. Thanks for having me on. Hey, thank you for the nice intro, too.
Well, thank you. Thank you for being here. I know you're a busy woman making all those just amazing videos, doing your show, taking care of a husband and a child and all of that fun stuff. So I'm excited that you have time for us. But, we've been talking about you a little bit here. And I think all of our male listeners, especially the ones in Canada, are about to start stalking you because we shared with them your bikini video.
You know how that came to be, that video. Okay, this was in the very, very old days where I figured, nobody's watching me anyway, so I felt very free to just do whatever, because really I didn't think anyone was paying attention, It turned out they were, but I didn't realize it, right away. So there was this girl who, had it in for me, and she kept posting these videos where she was sort of making fun of me and, just kind of hating on me. And she did this one video where she basically said literally what I said in that video. She's like, I don't understand what... Oh, my Skype is making all kinds of noises. I have to figure out how to... I think it's in tools, eh?
Tools, options, sounds.
Thank you. I got to get this straightened out. Wait, audio settings? Is it audio settings?
Sounds.
Sounds, I got it. Okay. Mute. Good. That's what I want. Okay.
Ew. All right.
Now, so this girl, she's like, I don't understand why people watch the TrutherGirls. I'm so much prettier than the TrutherGirls. My lips are so much bigger. She didn't say that, but she said something like, my hair is so much nicer and my lips are so much prettier. So people should watch me instead. And she was like that, and then she started trying to do news like I did, and she got it all weird. She's not a stupid girl. I actually found out some things about her, but I couldn't understand why she was hating on me so much. So, I just decided I was going to she kind of inspired me to make a video about somebody thinking that people should watch them because they're pretty. Which is unfortunately a lot of women think that that's the most important thing, and that's what's going to get them attention is whether they're pretty, and they kind of overlook other things like whether they're a nice person or whether they're intelligent or they have something interesting to say or whether they're fun or funny or whatever, Yeah. And in the end, those are the things that really will make it, being pretty is okay, but if you're pretty and you're just vapid, then it only goes so far, especially on YouTube too.
Yeah, it blows my mind that, of course you have tons of views, you've been doing this for so long and everything, but I want, the best videos I watch, where I get the most information from are, just regular people, nobody's ever heard their name, but if you put on, if you squish your boobs up to your neck and put on a ton of makeup and bleach your hair and, use tons of products and just, act like a bimbo, everyone watches it. They get millions of views overnight. It blows my mind.
Well, they used to. Things have changed. That had a lot to do with why YouTube changed their interface because of women doing that. And they're not stupid. I mean, they know that on some basic animal level, you see a thumbnail with big boobs and you feel kind of compelled to click on it. Even if you're a woman, I find it weird because I've actually done that myself. I'm like,
Me
what?
too.
Who is this chick? I got to see this.
Yeah.
She is, she looks good, but is she stupid or is she, it's just like some kind of basic thing in your nature. I find it really weird, though, that I don't know if other women or, like, am I secretly gay or what, but I don't know if other women do, like, when you see a thumbnail of, like, a really hot-looking chick, do you have to click on it, too? Because I do sometimes,
I totally do. Like last week, in fact, I was talking with my friend Casey, and it was on YouTube, and it was like a suggested video. I can't even remember what I was watching, and there was this, blonde bimbo with, like, big boobs talking about, like, makeup and hair care products and how sexy she is, and I ended up watching like 10 of them because, like, the first one, I'm like, okay, maybe she's just joking. Maybe she's just playing a part or something. Is this for real? So I had to watch the next one. And, like, some of the titles made you think there was actually information in there. And I have nothing against beautiful women, Playboy models, any of that. They're beautiful too. I personally prefer beauty and brains, which is what Sonia has. But, I watched like 10 of them.
That's what you have.
Well, thank you. You've really encouraged me a lot. And I know people are thinking, oh, my God, can you guys just get to the topic? But actually, I think this is a wonderful segue. But you have encouraged me to kind of break out of my shell. I started, finally doing videos, I think, the end of October or something like that. And, I was really, the same thing you got, like, oh my God, I'm from Hollywood and I'm so pretty. Why are they watching her? Well, I would get things like that, which inspired a few videos that actually kind of took off really well, which I wasn't expecting. I was just kind of venting and making fun of the situation. Like, I got messages like, nobody will ever take you seriously if you don't, wear the right clothes and put on a bra and brush your hair and put on the right makeup. And I was told, how I look like a boy and I have a funny mouth and all these things. So those just inspired me to do more videos, including my first satire video about beauty. So thank you, haters. You inspire us and propel us to move, higher and higher.
I get inspired. I mean, sometimes there's a few, I wouldn't call them haters exactly, but there's a few critics that I just kind of don't get it. Like, they seem to just wait till they put out a video and then put out the most obnoxious comment they can think of, and it just kind of makes you wonder what this person is like in real life. I can't imagine. Imagine if you met someone like that face to face. Would they be like that all the time? I kind of wonder. But, I've gotten the same thing, like, nobody will take you seriously, in my case, because I do comedy, but do they have to take me seriously all the time? I mean, see, this is the thing.
No one took Bill Hicks or George Carlin seriously. I mean, come on, get with the program. Be serious and drone and monotone because that's what we accept in today's society.
Well, not only that, but I know that people, because being on YouTube and a radio, you become like a kind of media personality, although a kind of small one with a cult following, but still. And
cults are cool.
What the thing is, the people that people see in the media all the time is they don't really know that person, but they know a part of them. And usually the same part is presented over and over because they see them in the same context. If it's a cooking show, they're going to see that guy cooking. They see him the way he is in the kitchen, and they get used to that, and they think, well, that's what he's like. But they don't know what is he like outside of that. What's he like in a different context? He might be very different. And some of these alternative media personalities, you see them every day, and it's either like they're ranting or they have a certain way of presenting their information. And that's all you ever see of them. So it's like what to expect. Just like when you go to McDonald's, you know what to expect at McDonald's. It's not very good, but just as an example that we all know.
It's the same here as it is in China, so.
And people like to know what they're going to expect. They like to go back and get their fix. So if you go back and suddenly you're being served, a Mexican veggie enchilada, you'd be like, what is going on? It kind of really throws you. And so I know that if I'm always presenting the news and then on the weekend I put in some comedy and people aren't used to that, they're like, what the heck is going on? But the thing is, I have many sides, and I use YouTube as a way to express myself. So I really just can't pigeonhole myself. And I've debated, opening a second channel, but I finally just realized, this is just who I am. And a lot of people who do stuff on YouTube or in the media, well, they also have, everybody has many sides to their personality, and you shouldn't always have to worry about what side are you going to present. Of course, when you go to work, you have to act a little different than you would on a date.
Mm-hmm.
But it doesn't... Yeah.
We feel we have to.
Some people don't seem to know the difference, but...
That's why I don't have a job.
I don't do too well with jobs either, but so that's working out okay for me too. But that's why I just when they say nobody's going to take you seriously, well, you don't have to take me seriously. You might take the information seriously because here are all the links. Go look into it. It's, a lot of times, what I post up, I post a lot of things about research that I do on medical topics. Like it could be anything from Crohn's disease to fibromyalgia to whatever, and you don't have to take me seriously. You can think that I'm an airhead or I'm a nut or whatever, but go and look at the links. That's all. Yeah. So I'm not really worried about it.
Absolutely. And you provide tons of information for people to go see it themselves. And you don't present the information in an authoritative way, nor the fear-mongering aspect. You're like, well, these are my personal experiences, and then this is what's going on, and it could be this or that, and here's the evidence that shows it could be one of those things. You decide for yourself. So that's, why I really love your videos, because, there's a lot of, rock stars out there that's like, this is the truth. This is the only truth. If you're listening to anyone else, you are being lied to because, I am God and I know all the answers, and come on. Nobody knows all the answers. So, yeah, I just love how you present the information in a really light, fun, funny, refreshing ways. So, thank you for doing that.
Well, thanks, Christie. Christie, what's your chat room? I don't think I'm in the right place.
Oh, I sent you a link on one of those. Let me do this again, now that you have your Skype noises muted. Oh. I spoke too soon. That's hilarious. So, okay, so, and you also, for those of you who don't know, you're probably living in a cave, but she also does a show with us here on AmericanFreedomRadio.com, Friday nights, 9 to 11 p.m. Central. And several shows ago when I had you on, we were talking about your experience healing a diagnosed autism case, which I think is absolutely awesome. So she's, think what you want about her and her videos and her characters and such. And I'd like to kind of talk about some of the characters and where they came from. But I'd like to kind of segue into the topic. We started with Michele Rosenthal of HealMyPTSD.com. Love your mind and love your body. So for those of you who thought we wouldn't get to the topic, we are. And, it's with doing the videos and such, it takes an extraordinary amount of confidence to kind of put yourself out there. And, fortunately, you do happen to be beautiful and sexy and confident and smart and all of those things. So, let's talk about, we were talking about trauma in the second hour, which I know we all have experienced at some point in time. Was there a time where you were not able to put yourself out there because you hated your body or your mind so much?
Put myself out there?
Yeah, on those 7 million videos you have. I would consider that putting yourself out there.
Well, no, I mean, once I started putting myself on YouTube, it didn't really matter, if I liked it. It never really was something that I considered I don't like myself, I'm not going to do this. I didn't really care because I was just speaking my mind and saying, whatever I thought was also funny. And like I said in the beginning, nobody was really watching. I mean, it was me and my friend. We were messing around. We were talking about chemtrails and stuff, but we were kind of silly. And then, people just responded to it, though. And then I started doing more serious reports as well. I get criticism on the way I look. People say I look like a guy. People have even said, hey, she's got an Adam's apple. Like all kinds of stuff. Like, okay,
hey, she's Sarah Palin.
Yeah, that whole thing, Tina Fey. I mean, I still had somebody ask me yesterday, are you Tina Fey?
Oh, my gosh.
One of these days, somebody, what I'd really like for somebody to get in touch with Tina Fey and ask her what she thinks. Why are you asking me all the time? I'm tired of, taking all the heat for it. Now, I don't even look like Tina Fey. There's, Tina Fey, my eyes are way baggier than Tina Fey's. You just don't realize it because I'm wearing glasses. But, if all you have to do is see that Samsonite luggage under my eyes, you're going to know there's no way that I'm Tina Fey. That's just right there, sort it out.
That's right. The eye baggage doesn't lie.
Well, they're going to say, they're prosthetic. Anyhow. Yeah. No, I'm not Tina Fey, obviously. But, are we going into a break already?
We have a break already, darn it. Okay, so hang on, everyone. I think we got the Skype tunes muted and tones, muted, and we're having some fun with our Canadian friend, TrutherGirl Sonia of TrutherGirls.com. So stay tuned, SoulJourneysRadio.com.
It's time to get real and heal. MyTrueEssence.net would like to tell you about Modifiland brown seaweed extract. It's composed of an elementally rich seaweed called laminaria. It takes 40 pounds of laminaria to make just 1 pound of Modifiland. There's nothing else like Modifiland. It is the richest in alginate, fucoidin, organic iodine, and lamarian. Alginates are the most effective organic element in nature that enable the body to rid itself of heavy metals, radioactive elements, and toxins. Fucoidin is an extremely effective anti-cancer substance found abundantly in brown seaweed. Organic iodine is the greatest protection for the thyroid offered by nature. Laminarin aids in the prevention and treatment of cardiovascular disease. Go to www.mytrueessence.net and click the Modifiland banner to get started on your path to rich health today. Also check out the Healing Shop for proven essential oils, medicinal teas, and even health coaching. It's time to get real and heal. Go to www.mytrueessence.net.
Get real and heal. Listen to Christie on Soul Journeys Radio.
Welcome to the world's meeting place. American.
It's practically narcotic.
Freedom.
Oh, yes. I like very much.
Radio.
They're an American institution.
American Freedom Radio.
All right, welcome back, and thanks for joining us here tonight. Love your mind, love your body, here in the second hour with Sonia of the TrutherGirls. You can find her on YouTube, youtube.com/TrutherGirls, or you can go to TrutherGirls.com and listen to her here on AmericanFreedomRadio.com. Friday nights, 9 to 11 p.m. Central. And, before we get into the Love Your Body, Love Your Mind, we have a very important question coming up in the chat. Sonia, what are you wearing?
No, what am I wearing? Seriously? I'm wearing these striped tights. They're off-white, and then they have these horizontal stripes in different sizes. And then I've got this mini skirt that's got black and white kind of motif on it. I don't know. It's like what you get with acid wash jeans, but I think it was just painted that way. I got no bra, just so you know.
Woo! All right.
Yeah. Well, it's just because, I was just lazy this morning. I couldn't be bothered hooking the thing up. And then I've got a tank top and a pink long sleeve top, and then this cute Betsy Johnson hoodie that I got when they were still open. It was on sale, and I'm wearing these Uggs that are destroyed. That I was telling you I bought them years ago because I thought that they might be really good in the winter, but they turned out to be really fragile. And I wore them one winter and pretty much destroyed them, had them fixed, destroyed them again. And so they're my slippers. I have them in some of my videos. So that's what I'm wearing. I'm actually wearing that.
All right. Well, I don't know. Is it the Uggs that are kind of gentle and fragile, or is it, Canadians have harsh winters? Maybe the Canadians can be a little harsh on these gentle little objects.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Oh, no. And plus, I usually only have, one pair of shoes or one pair of boots. So when I had the Uggs, I was wearing them every day, and I destroy my clothes. I buy something, and, 6 months later, it's destroyed most of the time. So.
All right.
Also.
Okay,
so
now we're allowed to move on.
What were we talking about before we went on the break?
Well, I just wanted to talk to you about how you got to that place of self-confidence, loving your body and your mind, and not being afraid to express it.
Oh, you know what? I'll tell you something. When I was a teenager, I was pretty insecure. I had a lot of trouble, socially. I was kind of misfit. I got thrown out of school twice, thrown out of summer camp 4 times. My first school was okay because I grew up with those kids. They knew me. And then the last high school I went to, that one went great because it was an artsy high school. Everything was okay. But, I think I was very smart. I mean, I did okay in school, but not great. And I knew I was pretty though. So I thought, well, I guess I got that going for me. But then at some point I read a lot of these women's magazines and I started thinking I was fat. Of course, I'm only 5'2", and the way I'm built, I never could look like a fashion model, but I just kept thinking I got to get skinnier and skinnier. It never occurred to me. I just have a completely different kind of body. So I was kind of starving myself. And then a lot of people, when they starve, then they rebound, and I got really pretty fat. And so I didn't feel really good about that. And, for a long time, I didn't like my body. I wanted to be tall and have long legs and, be skinny and all that. And then I went to work in a strip club.
Oh, wow. Well, you got the body for it, girl.
No, I was a waitress in a strip club.
Okay.
Actually, a few of them, and a shooter girl. But what I realized there when I went there was that actually womanly curves are very beautiful, and that there's a lot of variation, and that they're all beautiful. And, I was watching these men, interacting with these girls, and those girls were not tall and skinny. In fact, if there was a tall or skinny girl in there, she'd probably make a lot less money. And then I noticed all these girls were getting boob jobs and stuff. So my perception started to change. I realized that it's okay to have some meat on your bones. You don't have to be skinny. And I started thinking, well, that was a silly idea, and I was really misled, So that kind of cured me of my concern about being fat. But, you're looking at these strippers, and they are stacked, and a lot of them are enhanced. And that also kind of makes you feel like, well, my boobs shouldn't have any sag to them. They should be standing straight out like torpedoes. And it took a while for me to realize that was just another lie, and that our bodies are really fine. And what's attractive is a healthy body, and you really don't have to have long legs or big boobs or any particular feature, as long as you're fit, or even sometimes, even if you're plump. It's all, a lot of it's just in the eye of the beholder, and it also has a lot to do with how you feel about your body. And in the end, what's sexy is the fact that you're comfortable with your body.
Yeah, well, they want to tell us, beauty is only skin deep, but I think that's one of the biggest lies out there. It is much deeper than just the surface. So inside, that's what emanates to the outside. I mean, I've seen people that are 400 pounds that are the most beautiful people I have ever seen, or, skinny little toothpicks, or everything in between. So yeah, you're so right. It's not about the specific feature, although the magazines kind of lead us to believe that it is.
Well, the whole skinny thing, that's completely a lie. And I remember this, and the inner beauty, the personality has a lot to do with it. In the end, that's what has the staying power. What I noticed, lessons from the strip club, was that the girls who were very pretty and Barbie-like, they went from table to table all night, taking their clothes off, putting them back on. They never really stayed with sometimes, but they didn't really stay with any one customer very long. They just kind of went around and around and around the club doing these table dances. This was a long time ago. They weren't grabbing the girls or anything. They had to be 2 feet away and whatever. It was very, very tame compared to how it is now. But these girls would be going around all night. But what I noticed was the ones that were really making a lot of money, They might only have 4 customers a night, but each one would keep them for an hour. And most of the time, they weren't even dancing. They were sitting there at the table with them, getting paid just to sit and talk, and especially also listen. And I'm telling you, this one club, there was this girl. She was like 42 years old. She looked like somebody's mom. She'd get on stage. She looked like mom doing aerobics. This girl made a killing. She probably made more money than anyone in that club on that shift.
Wow.
And she was just sitting there with these guys. So I started realizing, a lot of it has to do with your mind, and it's not just about how your body looks. And another thing was, in another club, there was another girl like that. Her name was Lisa, and she was the fattest girl in the club. She was very plump, pretty face, very plump girl. She did not have the body you would imagine on a stripper. This girl made a killing, and she was sitting there with the guys. And I realized that, what's making these girls so attractive is really what's inside them, and that really overrides the outside. I mean, you look like a Barbie doll. You go in there, you'll make money, but it's just, each person coming in, and you're having these very shallow interactions with people, because the outside will only go so far. Whereas if you really have a lot of charisma and caring, and that comes through in your personality, then they want you to stay.
Yeah, definitely.
So it really changed my perception. I said, anytime somebody's saying, they have body image problems, they're anorexic, whatever, I say, go and work in a strip club, like just for a week, and observe, and you're going to see that we've been just totally lied to about body image. And I feel bad for those girls too, because they were getting all these like huge breast implants, and some of those girls, not all of them. And, that, like, it's really damaging to your body. I mean, those plastic surgery, they have some really negative effects. Like, I'll tell you one, okay? Liposuction, it sucks off fat on part of your body. Okay, obviously, if you gain weight, it's not going to come back in that place, because those fat cells are gone. It'll come back somewhere else. So if you suck it off your butt, it comes back on your stomach or in some other place. So you can end up with a really weird-looking body if the fat comes back. And the other thing is, it also comes back as fat around your organs, which is very bad for your health. And it's like linked to diabetes and all kinds of things. So it's called visceral fat. So if you went and you got liposuction, you're like, oh, I've got this huge gut, I'm going to get all sucked up. You know what? That fat, if it comes back, it's going to come back inside your body, and that's much worse. So it's really, quite dangerous.
Yeah, definitely. God, you just reminded me of all of these issues that I had to deal with in regards to body image. And, you're totally right when you say that, it's a healthy body, just focus on health, and the rest just kind of falls into place. And it wasn't until, I had more of a healthier perception of myself, where, I realized, damn, I am beautiful. Of course, that just happened recently. And it's amazing that, it kind of shows on the outside, whereas I'm remembering, back in my modeling and acting days, I'm 6 foot tall. And I was down to 102 pounds. I was starving myself to death, eating disorders, negative self-image, self-hate. I thought I was fat. And in fact, my agents and, other people I knew within the industry, oh, well, you would just be perfect if you had a nose job and liposuction. And, oh, you only need to lose like 10 or 15 more pounds. Well, I pretty much ended on my deathbed, doing that to myself. I mean, 102, 6 feet tall is ridiculous. And I'm definitely the squishiest I have ever been in my life right now, and I think I'm more beautiful than ever. In fact, I wanted to see if all I was doing for my health was really making results. So I went back and looked at some of my old modeling pictures, and, from like 13 years ago, and I had tons of makeup and Photoshop, and I compared them with photos of me now, no makeup, no Photoshop, and I think I look like 10 years younger now than I did then.
I think you look great, and I think you just look gorgeous and natural, and you got fantastic hair, and your inner beauty really shines through a lot when you're doing your videos. I think, there's a lot of variation in beauty, and I used to not like the bags under my eyes, for example, or the shape of my face or something like that. And I finally realized, this is me. This is part of who I am. So I love it because it's just part of me. So why would I want to look like someone else?
Absolutely.
That's
I know.
kind of logic eventually. Yeah. But it happens by the time you're 40, maybe. It's too bad it doesn't happen when you're 20,
All those years I wasted. But it's like nowhere else in nature are we thinking that everything else has to look the same. They have, like, all trees have to have the exact same leaf and the exact same size of trunks. Or I'm looking at my dog right now. Dogs, they have to, have the certain weight, and their boobs or teats or whatever you want to call them have to look the same, or their eyes, or, cows, gorillas, snakes, you name it. We're all individual and unique, and the trick is to learn to love ourselves exactly where we are. So, girl, how did you do that? Yeah,
I realized, it's not always about necessarily being pretty. Like, who inspired me a lot? Actors like Steve Buscemi. Because Steve Buscemi is funny looking, okay? But we love him that way. That's how he is. That's part of who he is. Now imagine if Steve Buscemi went and got, a nose job and got his teeth fixed. Yeah, it would kind of suck. Just like the singer from the Pogues, he's got horrible teeth, but it's just part of what makes him cool. You don't have to look like Mick Jagger. Yeah, lots of people. You don't have to come out of a cookie cutter mold. You don't actually have to be pretty. You don't have to be handsome. If you love yourself and you put out a lot of love and you let your personality shine, then it's like however you look becomes beautiful in its own way.
Absolutely. What if we were all pretty exactly as we are? And, maybe the dudes who are in the fashion magazines, they won't agree, but I guarantee there's somebody here on the planet, or maybe many thousands of people on the planet, that would think that somebody, we might not think is pretty. They might think they're the most beautiful people in the world. In fact, like a lot of stars and stuff, Brad Pitt, for example, everyone thinks he's so hot, and I'm just like, really? I don't know. I don't see that. So I don't think pretty can really be defined with certain features.
Well, it can. No, Christie, there's been scientific study about facial symmetry, and there is such a
that's true.
As something that we naturally we'll naturally stare longer. I mean, look, if I see a really good looking woman go down the street, I'm going to be looking at her because it's an automatic reflex. But that there's another thing.
Well, Paris Hilton, people think she's pretty. I don't think she's pretty at all, and I'm sorry, no offense, Paris, because I know you listen to all of our shows, but I just don't see it. I think different strokes for different folks,
well,
maybe.
There are, and you know what, Christy, there's another thing to that, which is that people tend to find other people beautiful who look somewhat like themselves. Not everybody would think, and actually how much your mate looks like you, how many points you have in common in your facial features will have a big influence on how likely your relationship is to last long term. That's been scientifically shown. So you do well to match up with somebody who resembles you. People often think that my husband and I are brother and sister. When I look at him, it's I see him as the most beautiful guy in the world I've ever seen. Not everyone would agree, but for me, this works. I love to look at him. I find him just gorgeous. I hope he finds the same with me. Maybe I say it more to him, but he probably does. But that's the different strokes for different folks.
Absolutely gorgeous, Sonia. You and your husband and your beautiful little boy. But it is that time. We have to take a short break, so hang on, everyone. We will be right back with TrutherGirl Sonia here on SoulJourneysRadio.com.
It's time to get real and heal. MyTrueEssence.net would like to tell you about Modifiland brown seaweed extract. It's composed of an elementally rich seaweed called laminaria. It takes 40 pounds of laminaria to make just 1 pound of Modifiland. There's nothing else like Modifiland. It is the richest in alginate, fucoidin, organic iodine, and lamarian. Alginates are the most effective organic element in nature that enable the body to rid itself of heavy metals, radioactive elements, and toxins. Fucoidin is an extremely effective anti-cancer substance found abundantly in brown seaweed. Organic iodine is the greatest protection for the thyroid offered by nature. Laminarin aids in the prevention and treatment of cardiovascular disease. Go to www.mytrueessence.net and click the Modifiland banner to get started on your path to rich health today. Also check out the Healing Shop for proven essential oils, medicinal teas, and even health coaching. It's time to get real and heal. Go to www.mytrueessence.net.
Get real and heal. Listen to Christie on Soul Journeys Radio.
News and information you can trust. This is American Freedom Radio. Freedom, American Freedom Radio. American Freedom Radio.
All right, welcome back. Holy smokes, last segment already. This jam-packed show, Michele Rosenthal and Sonia of the TrutherGirls. But actually, I just got word that we are having another guest join us right here. You may have heard of her before. Her name is Anita Hitt, and I hear she has some wonderful tips on beauty and PTSD. And Anita Hitt, for those of you who don't know, is, I think, the world's most famous and lovely drug addict there is. I'm not really sure what she's on, though, but Anita, are you here?
Yeah, I'm here. Yeah.
Aw, thank you so much for joining us here tonight. I've been following you for quite some time, and I'm just not sure what kind of drugs do you do, actually?
Well, why, you got some?
I was hoping to learn from you, and so, yeah, I guess I'm just not that familiar. Unfortunately, I mean, maybe you're just stoned, or you smoking crack. Like, what's up? What makes you so smart?
And Christie, I'm not stoned. I'm just maintaining, if you know what I mean. Yeah.
Actually, I don't. You might have to explain it to us.
Well, I like all kinds of drugs, heroin's pretty good, pretty much goes with everything, well, except for PCP maybe, but, no, it goes with PCP too. Heroin's pretty good. And, alcohol, I don't know, do you count that as a drug?
I think so. Alcohol counts as a drug, absolutely.
I usually just count it as a beverage, but anyway, and sometimes I like to mix it up a little, and I just throw in a little crack or some bath salts, if I want to have a bit of a party, stay up late watching Northern Exposure.
Wow, bath salts. So do you actually inhale them? Do you eat them? Do you drink them?
Well, it said to put them in your bath on the package, so I just dumped the whole box in the bath. And, let's say it was pretty invigorating, if you know what I mean.
Well, I've been reading in the news lately about this, like a zombie apocalypse we're supposed to be afraid of, and allegedly it's attributed to bath salts. So does this concern you in any way?
Well, I don't know. I've seen a lot of zombies walking around in my neighborhood, but I just think that they're, they're just high on crack and whatever. No, I'm not worried about bath salts. I mean, if you run out of some other stuff, you might want to keep a few on hand. Well, the only thing I'm worried about bath salts is that, be honest with you, I don't really like taking a bath because I'm a bit worried about the environment, and I read an article that said that if you cut down your shower time from 5 minutes a day to 3 minutes, you could save 18,000 gallons of water, which is enough to water a golf course for 1 day. So I figured, a 3-minute shower kind of, if I'm going to get in the shower, I don't want to have to do it every day. So I figured, I could just take 2 10-minute showers a week, or I could take 1 bath, or I could sometimes, you know what I like to do? I like to just bring my laundry in the bath with me and kill two birds with one stone because I hate doing freaking laundry.
Wow, that is a fantastic idea. I mean, talk about multitasking and killing two birds with one stone. Fantastic advice there. And, you know, in regards to the bath salts, I mean, since you hate baths so much, you might as well just inhale it or maybe mainline it.
Well, no, I'm saving my veins for the good stuff, if you know what I mean. So I can kill 3 birds with one stone. First of all, I run myself my weekly bath, and I get that taken care of, and I dump a whole can of bath salts in there so I can have a bit of a party, and plus then I got the energy to do my freaking laundry, and so it all works out. I
wonder if we could try washing our dishes in the bath, too. Bring your laundry and your dishes.
Well, I used to do that, but then, you know, one day I had a lot of wine glasses in there, and I kind of had an accident. So I don't do that anymore. I just use paper cups.
I understand. That could be dangerous. And, you know, we have another thing in common besides multitasking and such, and killing 2, 3, 4, 5 birds with one stone or one bath. In reference to beauty, which I know you wanted to share a few words with us on beauty before I get back to Sonia and finish up on PTSD, but I love bath salts and definitely encourage people to take an aromatic bath as often as possible. Really healing and has just done wonders for my skin.
Yeah. Can we get back to the drugs?
Well, I would like to know your secret of beauty or at least what you have to share with us about it. Any beauty tips?
Well, yeah. You know, first of all, speaking of drugs, you know, heroin slows down your metabolism, so, you know, after a while, you know, everybody says, what, you've been on heroin for 20 years? You look great. I say, yeah, I'm pickled. You know, so you just don't get old. You don't believe me, try getting off the heroin one day, and after about a week of that crap, you'll be full of wrinkles. Yeah. And, so, yeah, pretty much I just pickle myself with heroin, and that's about it. And don't wash your face too much. That's not a problem for me. I don't wash it anyway.
Well, pickles are great, and I did hear that the Faces of Meth was a total psyop and a conspiracy. What are your thoughts on that?
I don't know. I figure, you know, you pay a meth head enough and they'll put on any kind of makeup and pose for any kind of picture. I mean, you know, they'd thrown in a couple of bucks, they probably would have done it naked.
All right. Well, let me ask you this one last question before we get back to Sonia. Is there any chance that you suffered from some type of traumatic incident or PTSD which led to your overuse and love of, you know, crack and meth and heroin and all that good and fun, healthy stuff we've been talking about this segment?
You know, some people consider my heroin use a problem. I just consider it a lifestyle. So, you know, I don't really think it's a problem. And, you know, if ever I get traumatized, well, it's easy. I just do more heroin, and then I kind of forget about it.
Well, you are so right. It is a lifestyle. Diets don't work. Anita, I want to thank you for joining us. I'm noticing we're running out of time, so hopefully we have Sonia on the other line. Sonia, are you still there?
Yeah, I'm here.
Woohoo! Well, what did you think about that? Anita had quite a bit to share on beauty, PTSD, and multitasking at home.
Yeah, I think that's the most, like, the longest, most coherent paragraph I don't think I've ever heard her utter an entire paragraph in one shot.
She did great.
Stayed awake for the whole thing. I don't know what her secret. Maybe it was the bath salt. Maybe it was bath night. I thought it was some pretty good, efficient tips. You know, you bring your underwear in the bath with you, and you know, while you're soaking, you scrub the crotch, and then you just wring it out, and then put. You know, I think that's pretty good. That's a good strategy. It's economical. Yeah,
I agree with that too. I think that's an excellent tip. So,
a trip to the laundry room, especially in the middle of winter. Who wants to go down the street to the laundromat? You know.
Stay in your hot bath. Absolutely.
Like she said, it's a lifestyle.
Oh, my gosh, Sonia.
That lifestyle.
I am looking at the clock here, and this went, like, way too fast. I know you wanted to share with us a little bit about healing from PTSD, so shoot.
We can do it another time.
We sure can. What do you do next week? All right.
That's Anita. Anita just signed me up to come back on your show. I don't know, probably Anita's laundry.
Definitely.
Getting pretty bad around here.
Well, maybe we'll be blessed with appearances by Anita and maybe even Flo. And okay, so we'll talk about that next time. But what are some of the rest of your characters?
Well, see, Anita, the reason I do Anita is because when I was in university, I always worked very hard in school. I always had to have A's or I'd get really upset. But I really partied pretty hard, too, you know. And sometimes I just thought, imagine if I just kept drinking like that, you know, all the time, and then I would turn into one of these, like, really burnt-out people, and I probably would have been like Anita. So, you know, Anita's not that far. I mean, actually, a lot of people in my neighborhood inspire a lot of the Anita stories. A lot of them are based on real stories from people that I've met, you know. I mean, run into somebody in the mall, they tell me a story, and I'm like, wow, that's heavy, that's Anita, you know. And then there's Aunt Flo, she's Christian, and she's trying to beat a man, but she's had a hard time. And, well, that's basically based on me when I used to go to church because I was really hoping to meet a guy there, and it never worked out. And so, you know, like I spent a lot of time at church, and I know a lot about that. So that's where Anita comes in. And Ruth Klezmer, who hasn't been around for a long time, she's basically, like, based on my father. People think I'm making fun of, like, Jewish people, but my father was Jewish. But that was where I got that.
Uh-oh.
My mom is just my neurotic side.
Right on, honey. I think the break came in late, so we probably have a little bit less time here, but I was requested to share something with you. I'm not as cool as Anita, but this is one of my health tips. Oh, if they come louder. This isn't working. Never mind. You'll just have to check out the fart rap instrumental. Thank you for joining us. Have an awesome night, everyone.
It's time to get real and heal. MyTrueEssence.net would like to tell you about Modifiland brown seaweed extract. It's composed of an elementally rich seaweed called laminaria. It takes 40 pounds of laminaria to make just 1 pound of Modifiland. There's nothing else like Modifiland. It is the richest in alginate, fucoidin, organic iodine, and lamarian. Alginates are the most effective organic element in nature that enable the body to rid itself of heavy metals, radioactive elements, and toxins. Fucoidin is an extremely effective anti-cancer substance found abundantly in brown seaweed. Organic iodine is the greatest protection for the thyroid offered by nature. Laminarin aids in the prevention and treatment of cardiovascular disease. Go to www.mytrueessence.net and click the Modifiland banner to get started on your path to rich health today. Also check out the Healing Shop for proven essential oils, medicinal teas, and even health coaching. It's time to get real and heal. Go to www.mytrueessence.net.
Get real and heal. Listen to Christie on Soul Journeys Radio.
You're listening to the future of talk. American Freedom Radio. This is American Freedom Radio.